The night was cold and quiet. The small town lay under a sky full of stars, with only the sound of the wind moving through the empty streets. A man walked slowly along the road, his jacket pulled tight against the chill. It was just another ordinary evening for him, or so he thought. He was heading home after a long day when something made him stop. There, at the edge of the streetlight's glow, stood a figure. The person was tall and slim, wrapped in a dark cloak that moved gently in the wind. The hood was pulled low, hiding the face. Something about the way the figure stood, still, silent, made his heart beat faster. The man looked around. No one else was on the street. The air felt heavy, almost like the moment before a storm. The figure stepped forward. Slowly, deliberately. The man's first thought was to leave, to walk away and forget he had seen anything. But something in his chest kept him frozen in place. He didn't know why, but he felt this moment mattered. When the figure finally came into the light, the man's breath caught. She was a woman, young, but not like anyone he had ever seen before. Her hair shimmered faintly, as if it carried silver dust. Her skin was pale but with a faint golden glow under the streetlight. And her eyes were bright in a way no human eyes could be. Then she spoke. Her voice was soft but carried a weight that made his chest tighten. "Do you recognize me, human?" she asked slowly. The man blinked. The way she said human was strange, like she was not one herself. Before he could answer, she pushed back her hood fully. Her face was stunning, too beautiful, too perfect. She looked like someone from a dream, someone who didn't belong in this ordinary town. And then she said something that made his blood run cold. "I'm your childhood neighbor," she whispered, "the one who lived next to you when you were a boy." The man's mind went blank. Childhood neighbor? That was impossible. He remembered the small house next door. He remembered playing in the backyard as a kid. But the girl who lived there had been normal, ordinary, human. This woman in front of him looked nothing like her. And yet, there was something in her eyes, something familiar. How is this possible? He managed to say, his voice low. She didn't answer right away. Her eyes moved to the dark sky above. That was when he heard it, the faint sound of something in the distance. A low hum, like engines far away. Her expression changed. Fear, real fear. "They're coming," she said under her breath. "I don't have much time." The man looked up. Far away, lights moved across the sky fast, sharp, nothing like airplanes. The humming sound grew louder. "What's going on?" he asked, his voice rising. She grabbed his arm suddenly, her grip stronger than it looked. "Please," she said, her voice shaking now. "I need your help. You're the only one I can trust." His heart pounded. He didn't know this woman. Or maybe he did. Childhood memories flashed in his mind. The apple tree in the backyard, the secret hideout near the river. He remembered playing there with someone, a girl. But the face was blurry, like a dream half forgotten. "Who are you?" he demanded. She looked straight into his eyes. "I'll explain everything," she said. "But not here, not now." The sound in the sky was closer now. Bright lights cut through the clouds, searching the ground like giant eyes. "Come with me," she urged. "If they find me, they'll kill me, and they'll kill you too." The man hesitated. His world had been simple just 5 minutes ago. Go home. Eat dinner. Sleep. Now a mysterious woman with glowing eyes was telling him people or things were coming to kill her. But something inside him told him she was telling the truth. Another beam of light swept across the street. "Run," she said sharply. And they ran, through narrow alleys, over fences, past closed shops. The night was no longer quiet. The humming sound grew louder, closer. Finally, they reached his small cabin at the edge of town. He unlocked the door, and they slipped inside. Both of them were breathing hard. For a moment, There was only silence except for the distant hum outside. The man turned to her. "Now," he said, his voice trembling. "Tell me what's happening. Tell me who you really are." She looked at him with those bright, strange eyes. And then softly, she said the words that would change his life forever. "I'm not from Earth." The man stood frozen after hearing her words. Not from Earth. His mind couldn't make sense of it. It felt like the whole world tilted for a moment. He looked at her again, searching for signs she might be joking. But her face was serious, too serious. The strange woman, the one who called herself his childhood neighbor, moved closer. "Listen to me," she said softly. "I don't have much time. Those lights in the sky, they're hunting me. And you're the only person who might still remember." "Remember what?" His voice cracked slightly. She touched the old wooden table in his cabin and looked around, as if the place carried memories for her. Then she turned her glowing eyes back to him. "Do you remember the summer when you were 10? She asked. The man frowned. The summer when he was 10. He remembered riding his bike, swimming in the river, climbing the big apple tree. But before he could speak, she said something that made his stomach twist. "You fell from the tree one day. You broke your arm. Everyone thought you were alone." She paused, her voice soft but steady. "But you weren't alone. I was there. I helped you. I stopped the bleeding before your parents came running." His eyes widened. That was true. That accident had haunted him for years. He had told everyone he didn't remember who found him. He had been in shock, his memory fuzzy. But she knew. He felt his knees weaken slightly. "That was you?" he whispered. She nodded. "Back then, I didn't look like this. I wore a different face. I hid among humans, my family. We were refugees. We stayed here after everything was taken from us." Her words sounded like pieces of a puzzle. He didn't have all the parts for refugees. "From where?" he asked slowly. She hesitated. Her hand trembled slightly as she touched the edge of the table. "From a world far beyond your stars," she finally said. "We were running from a war you can't even imagine. My parents disguised us as humans. We lived here for years." He tried to laugh, but it came out hollow. "That's not possible. I'd know if aliens were living next door." She shook her head gently. "You knew me. You just didn't know the truth. I had a different face, a different body. When my family disappeared, everyone thought we moved away." Her eyes softened. "But the truth is, they came for us. And I was the only one who escaped." The man's chest felt heavy. Something inside him wanted to believe her because deep down, some memories now felt wrong. She walked to the window and peered out carefully. The humming in the sky had faded for the moment, but both of them knew it wouldn't last. "I left Earth years ago," she continued in a low voice. "I thought I would never come back. But I had no choice. They're hunting me across the stars. Because of what I carry." "What do you carry?" he asked before he could stop himself. She turned slowly. Her eyes glowed brighter for a moment. "Something they fear. Something they would kill to keep hidden." The man didn't understand, but he could feel the weight in her words. And then she said something that made the room feel colder. "They'll come for you too," she said softly. "Because you once helped me, even without knowing it. And they will see you as part of this." He swallowed hard. He was just an ordinary man. He had no weapons, no training, no reason to be part of this nightmare. Yet somehow he already was. She took a deep breath. "I came to you because you're the only human I trust. The only one who ever showed me kindness when I was nothing. More than a stranger." Her voice broke slightly on the last word. The man didn't know what to say. His world had changed in less than an hour. Childhood memories were suddenly twisted, rewritten with alien truths. The girl next door wasn't a girl. She wasn't even from Earth. And somewhere out there, ships were hunting her, and maybe now him too. The lights in the sky appeared again, brighter this time, sweeping across the hills like predators searching for prey. She turned toward the door, her face tense. "We have to leave," she said. "If they find us here, neither of us will survive the night." The man felt fear creep into his chest. He wanted to refuse. He wanted to stay inside where it was safe. But deep down, he knew safety was already gone. The hunters were coming. And the woman who used to be his neighbor held secrets that could destroy them all. The night outside had grown darker, heavier, like the air itself was holding its breath. The man could hear the strange humming again. It was louder this time, coming from the hills beyond the town. It didn't sound like any plane or helicopter he had ever heard. It was sharp, cold, and unnatural. The woman, no, the alien, stood near the window, her glowing eyes fixed on the sky. Her face was tense, her breathing steady, as if she had been through this chase before. "They've found me," she whispered. The man felt a chill crawl up his back. "Who are they?" he asked, his voice shaking. She didn't answer right away. Instead, she looked at him, her eyes serious. "Hunters," she finally said. "They work for the ones who destroyed my world. They want what I carry. And they'll kill anyone who stands in their way." The man stared at her. "And you brought them here? To Earth?" Her jaw tightened. "I didn't want to, but I had no choice. Earth is the only place I know. The only place where I once felt safe." Before he could say more, a bright light flashed across the night sky, cutting through the clouds like a blade. Then another. The man's heart pounded as he ran to the window. Far above, 3 black shapes moved silently, too fast and too smooth to be any human aircraft. They glowed faintly along the edges like shadows wrapped in lightning. "They're scanning for me," she said quietly. "They can smell energy signatures. They'll find us if we stay here." The man backed away from the window. "Then where do we go?" She didn't answer. Her eyes flicked toward the forest beyond the town. Another sound ripped through the air like metal tearing, but there was no thunder, no storm. The ships were coming closer now, their lights sweeping the streets. The houses below stayed dark. People were asleep, unaware that something not from this world was hunting right above them. The man felt his throat go dry. He had never believed in aliens, in life beyond Earth. And now here he was, hiding inside his own cabin with one, while others flew over his town like predators circling prey. The woman turned to him suddenly. "Do you still have the old trails?" she asked. He blinked. "What?" "The hidden paths," she said quickly. "Behind the hills. The ones you used when you were young." He nodded slowly. Those trails had been there since his childhood. Narrow paths through thick trees, hard to follow at night. No cars could pass through them. She grabbed his arm. "Good, we used them." Now, they stepped outside. The wind had grown stronger. In the distance, one of the black ships tilted sharply, turning its bright beam toward the ground. "They saw something," she said under her breath. The man didn't ask what. He already knew. They ran. The forest waited ahead, dark and cold. Branches snapped under their feet. The man knew these paths well, but tonight they felt different, like the trees themselves were watching. The lights in the sky followed them. Slow. At first, then faster. "Why are they after you?" he asked between breaths. The woman didn't look back. "Because I have something they lost. Something they need." "What is it?" She hesitated before answering. Proof of what they did. Proof that could bring their entire empire down. The man stumbled over a rock but kept running. The word empire stuck in his mind. This wasn't just about her. This was bigger. Much bigger. A beam of light shot across the forest, cutting through the trees like daylight. It missed them by only a few feet. The woman raised her hand, and for a second her eyes glowed brighter. The air around them shimmered like heat over desert sand. The next beam passed straight over them, as if they weren't there. What was that? The man gasped. "A cloak," she said shortly. "But it won't last long." The humming above grew angrier, louder. The hunters knew they were close. Finally, they reached the far edge of the forest where the land dropped into a valley. Beyond it lay the river, the one from their childhood memories. The man stopped to catch his breath. Where now? She looked at the river below, her face pale in the moonlight. "There's a place," she said. "An old hiding spot. We used it once, long ago. They won't find us there, at least not tonight." The man didn't understand how she knew so much about their old trails, their secret places. But then he remembered she had been here before. Long ago. Above them, the hunters circled like wolves that had tasted blood. The night was far from over. The forest grew quiet again as they reached the valley. Only the soft sound of the river below and the rustling leaves filled the air. The hunters' ships had circled away for now, but both of them knew it was only a matter of time before they returned. The woman leaned against a tree, breathing heavily. Her glowing eyes scanned the sky like she expected danger any second. Man stood nearby, his heart still pounding from the chase. He had so many questions running through his mind that he didn't even know where to start. Finally he asked, "What are you not telling me? Why are they after you like this?" For a moment she didn't answer. Her face carried a sadness he didn't understand. Then she turned toward the river and spoke softly, as if talking to the water instead of him. "I wasn't just any child hiding on Earth," she said slowly. "My family. We were part of something much bigger, something dangerous." The man frowned. "Bigger how?" She took a deep breath. "My people come from a world called Sarathia. Long ago, it was a place of peace, full of cities that touched the clouds, oceans that glowed at night, and skies filled with silver birds. But then the Empire came." He listened in silence, her words painting a world he couldn't imagine. "The Empire wanted control over everything: our land, our resources, even our lives. When my people resisted, they destroyed city after city until the whole planet burned." Her voice trembled, just a little. "I watched it happen. I was only a child." The man felt his chest tighten. He could hear the weight in her voice. "The kind that only comes from memories too heavy to carry. They killed our leaders," she continued softly. "But they didn't know my father was still alive. He carried proof of everything they had done: plans, names, locations of secret camps where they experimented on prisoners. He hid it where they could never find it." "And you have it now," the man guessed quietly. She nodded. "When the Empire found out, they came for him. My family ran. My father gave me the proof before." She stopped suddenly, her voice cracking. "Before they caught him." The man stayed quiet. He didn't need to ask what happened next. She looked at him then, eyes glowing faintly in the moonlight. "I was the only one who escaped. I crashed on Earth, your Earth." He remembered what she said before, that she had lived here, disguised as a human child. That explained the memories she shared: the apple tree, the secret fort, the way she knew all the old trails like they were still part of her. "But why not tell me back then?" he asked. "I couldn't," she said. "The Empire was watching. Even then, if anyone knew what I carried, they would have destroyed this whole planet just to find it." The man shivered. He was just an ordinary person, yet somehow, he was standing in the middle of a war that started light years away. "And now?" he asked. "Why come back to me after all these years?" "Because I need help," she said simply. "You're the only one who ever showed me kindness without asking for anything. I have no one else left." The forest fell silent again. Somewhere in the distance, a branch cracked under something heavy. Both of them froze, listening. The sound came again, closer this time. "They're here," she whispered. The man looked toward the dark trees. "How do they keep finding us?" "They can track the energy signature of the data I carry," she said, touching a small device hidden beneath her cloak. "It's encoded inside me, part of me." His eyes widened. You mean it's not on a computer or something? She shook her head. No, it's in my blood. That's why they want me alive. But once they have what's inside me, they won't need me anymore. The thought made his stomach twist. He had never felt so far out of his depth in his life. The humming sound started again, faint but growing louder. Lights flickered in the sky through the tree branches. We have to move, she said quickly. The old cave near the river. Do you remember it? He nodded slowly. They had found it as kids, a place to hide from summer storms. They won't find us there, she said. At least not tonight. The man didn't know if she was right, but they didn't have a choice. The hunters were coming again, and this time they sounded closer than ever. The night turned wild again. The man and the alien woman ran along the narrow trail toward the old cave near the river. The sound behind them kept growing louder, sharp, mechanical, like angry wasps chasing prey. The hunters were coming. The woman's glowing eyes darted around the forest as she moved quickly, her steps silent even on dry leaves. The man followed, his chest burning, heart hammering in his ears. He had never run like this before. Above the trees, dark shapes passed through the clouds. Their searchlights cut through the branches like knives of white fire. Each time a beam swept the ground, the man felt his stomach drop. They're too close, he said, gasping for air. They won't stop. The woman replied without looking back. Not until they have me. Her words sent a chill down his spine. One of the hunters' ships tilted suddenly, its light locking on their trail. Down! She shouted. They threw themselves behind a fallen log as the beam scorched the ground nearby, leaving black marks on the earth. The air smelled of burned wood. The man's hands trembled. They have weapons? Yes, she said, her voice low. And they won't miss twice. The beam moved away for a second, but the humming grew louder. The ships were circling back. They're cutting off our path. The man realized that. The woman's eyes glowed brighter for a moment. Then we make a new one. She raised her hand toward a thick patch of trees. A faint pulse of light shot from her palm, and the air cracked like a sudden lightning strike. The trees bent and split, clearing a narrow path. The man stared in shock. What was that? Energy manipulation, she said simply. One of the few gifts my people still have. The hunters' lights returned, brighter this time, sweeping across the forest in crisscrossing patterns. The ships moved, like predators closing in on the final kill. They know where we're going, she said sharply. We have to move faster. They ran through the newly made path. Branches whipped against the man's arms. Roots tried to trip him, but he didn't. Stop. The woman moved ahead with silent grace, as if the forest itself made way for her. The humming sound changed. It was no longer just above them, it was behind them too. They've sent ground units, she said, her voice tense now. They'll be on us soon. The man's breath caught. Ground units? She nodded. Not human, machines, faster than anything you've seen. He didn't want to see them. He didn't want to know what they looked like. But then he heard it, the sharp clatter of metal feet on rocks, closing in fast. A moment later, glowing red eyes appeared between the trees. The man's heart almost stopped. The machines were shaped like hunters from old nightmares. Tall, thin, made of black metal with weapons attached to their arms. Their eyes glowed like tiny fires. They found us, he shouted. The woman didn't answer. She grabbed his hand and pulled him toward the river. The ground units moved fast. Too fast, running on jointed legs that didn't slow down even on rough terrain. One of them raised an arm. A flash of blue energy shot toward them, hitting a tree and splitting it in half. The man stumbled as the shockwave knocked him sideways. Get up, she yelled. He pushed himself up, his ears ringing. They ran again, the sound of metal feet hammering the ground behind them. There, she said suddenly, pointing ahead. Through the trees, the man saw it, the old cave near the riverbank. It was just a dark hole under a wall of stone, barely big enough for two people. They ran inside just as another blast hit the rocks above the entrance, spraying them with dust and small stones. Inside, the cave was cold and damp, the air thick with the smell of earth. The woman raised her hand again, and a faint barrier of shimmering light sealed the entrance like a thin wall of glass. The man collapsed against the wall, gasping for air. "Will that hold them?" "For a while," she said quietly. "Not forever." Outside, the hunters circled. Their lights swept the riverbank, their machines waiting at the edges of the forest like wolves before a kill. The man looked at her. "They won't stop, will they?" She shook her head slowly. "No, not until I'm dead, or until the secret inside me is theirs." The man swallowed hard. For the first time, he realized something. This wasn't just her fight anymore. Now, it was his too. The cave was dark and cold, the air heavy with damp earth. Outside, the hunters moved like shadows, their lights sweeping across the ground, searching. The strange machines with glowing red eyes waited near the entrance. They were patient. Too patient. The man leaned against the wall, breathing hard. His heart hadn't slowed since they ran inside. Every time one of those lights passed over the cave entrance, his chest felt tight, like it was about to break open. The alien woman stood near the glowing barrier she had created. The wall of light shimmered faintly, holding back the hunters. For now. But the way her hands shook told him it wouldn't last long. Finally, he whispered, "How long before they break through?" Her glowing eyes stayed on the entrance. "Minutes. Maybe less," she said softly. Her voice carried no panic, but there was something else in it, a weight, a tiredness. The man stared at her. "You've done this before, haven't you? Running, hiding." She didn't look at him. For years. Her shoulders rose and fell slowly, like someone carrying too much for too long. Outside, the machine started to move again. The sound of metal feet scraping against rocks filled the air. A beam of white light slammed against the barrier, making it ripple like water. The man stepped back. "That thing won't hold, will it?" The woman shook her head once. "No, not forever." Another hit. The barrier cracked this time, a thin line of black cutting through the glow before sealing again. The man turned toward her. "Then what do? We can't fight them." She finally looked at him. Her eyes glowed brighter now, not just with light, but with something deeper. Something fierce. "Maybe we can," she said quietly. He frowned. "What are you talking about?" She stepped back from the barrier and touched the center of her chest, right where her heartbeat would be. "What I carry, it's not just information, not just proof." The man's eyes narrowed. "Then what?" She took a slow breath. "It's power. Power my people once used to protect entire worlds. Power the Empire thought they destroyed. With my planet." The man shook his head. "You're saying you can fight them? All of them?" A faint smile touched her lips, but it was bitter. At a cost. Outside, another blast hit the barrier. The crack spread farther this time. The glow dimmed. The man stepped closer. "What cost?" She didn't answer right away. She looked at her trembling hands, at the faint light running beneath her skin. "Every time I use it, it takes something from me. Strength, life, memories. I don't know how much I have left." The man felt a cold weight settle in his chest. She moved toward the barrier slowly, the glow in her eyes burning brighter. "But if I don't use it, we die here." The next blast shattered the barrier. The machines rushed forward, their glowing red eyes lighting up the cave like fireflies from a nightmare. The man stumbled back. "They're in." But the woman stood still, her face calm now, almost too calm. She raised her hands slowly. The glow inside her spread across her arms, her shoulders, her whole body until she looked like she was made of starlight. The machines froze. For the first time, the man felt it, the air itself changing, heavy, electric, like the moment before. A lightning strike, then it happened. A wave of pure light exploded from her like a storm breaking free. It slammed into the machines, throwing them against the cave walls with a sound like metal screaming. Their red eyes flickered wildly before, going dark one by one. The man shielded his face from the blinding glow. When it finally faded, the ground was covered with the broken remains of the hunters, but the woman was on her knees. The glow around her dimmed to almost nothing. Her breathing was shallow, her hands shaking violently. The man rushed to her side. "Hey, are you okay?" She didn't answer at first. When she finally spoke, her voice was barely a whisper. "It's too much. Every time I use it, I feel like I lose pieces of myself." He knelt beside her. "Then stop using it. We'll find another way." Her eyes opened slowly, glowing faint but steady. "There is no other way. This power is the only reason I'm still alive. And the only reason you are too." Outside, the night had gone quiet again. The hunters were gone for now, but both of them knew the Empire wouldn't stop here. The man looked at her trembling hands, at the faint glow fading under her skin, and realized something. This power inside her might save them, or destroy her completely. The cave was silent except for the faint sound of the river outside. The broken machines lay scattered on the ground like dead insects, their red eyes dark now. The man stood still, trying to catch his breath, while the woman knelt in the center, her glowing hands trembling. He could see the toll it had taken on her. Her face was pale, her shoulders shaking. It was like the light inside her was burning her out a little each time she used it. "We can't stay here," she said softly, her voice weak but steady. "They'll send more." The man looked toward the mouth of the cave. "Where can we go?" "They seem to know everywhere you run." She nodded slowly. "There's one place left. The portal." The word hung heavy in the air. The man frowned. "Portal?" She looked up at him, her glowing eyes serious. "A way off this planet. A hidden path that leads beyond their reach. My people left it here long ago in case one of us survived." The man didn't speak for a moment. He had thought this night was already strange enough. Aliens, hunters, glowing powers. But now there was a secret door to the stars. "Where is it?" he asked finally. She stood slowly, swaying a little before catching herself on the cave wall. "At the edge of the river, beneath the old ruins. We have to reach it before they find us again." Outside, thunder rolled in the distance, or maybe it was engines. The man felt his stomach twist. "They're coming back, aren't they?" She nodded. With more firepower this time, they left the cave and ran along the riverbank. The sky above was no longer empty. Dark shapes moved between the clouds, and the humming grew louder again. At last, they reached the ruins, old stones covered in moss, crumbling walls half buried by time. It looked like nothing more than the remains of some forgotten fort, but when the woman touched the center stone, it glowed faint blue, lines of light spreading across the ground like veins of fire. The air above the ruins began to shimmer, forming a swirling circle of light, a portal, opening slowly, like a great eye awakening after centuries of sleep. The man stepped back, staring. This is real?" She nodded once. "It leads to a place they can't follow, at least not yet." The humming sound became a roar now. The hunters were close. She turned to him. "You have to go through first." The man blinked. "What?" "No, you're the one they want. You go." She shook her head firmly. "The portal takes time to close. If I go first, they'll follow. I have to hold them off while you escape." He stared at her. "But you'll be trapped here." She smiled faintly, though it didn't reach her tired eyes. "I was trapped here the moment they killed my family. This is the only way to end it." Before he could argue, the first hunter ship broke through the clouds, its lights locking onto the ruins. "Go!" she shouted, but he didn't move. He couldn't just leave her. The machines came first. rushing from the trees with glowing weapons. The woman raised her hands again, light burning through her skin like fire. The man had seen it before, the wave of energy, the way it destroyed everything in its path. But this time it was different, stronger, brighter. She unleashed it like a storm. The hunters fell one by one, but each blast left her weaker, her knees shaking, her breath ragged. The portal behind them spun faster now, pulling at the air like a silent wind. "Go!" she shouted again, her voice breaking. He stepped toward her instead. "I'm not leaving you." Her eyes met his. For a second, the battle faded. It was just the two of them, standing on the edge of something too big for words. "You were the only part of my life here that felt real," she whispered. "Go, so at least one of us survives." Another blast hit the ground nearby, shaking the ruins. The man looked at the portal, then back at her. He didn't want to leave, but she pushed him toward it with the last of her strength. "Live," she said softly, "for both of us." He stumbled into the portal just as she turned back toward the hunters, her body glowing like a dying star preparing for one final burst. And then the light swallowed everything.